In life, we often find ourselves overwhelmed by the demands and distractions that surround us. Whether it's work, relationships, or personal struggles, we sometimes lose sight of what truly matters. We chase after things that seem important at the time but leave us feeling empty and unfulfilled. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, but in moments of reflection, we realize that there is something, or rather someone, that should always come first: God. The prayer we're about to explore is a heartfelt cry for help, a recognition of our weaknesses, and a desire to draw closer to God. It speaks to the deep yearning we all have for peace, guidance, and strength in the midst of life's challenges. It reminds us that we are not meant to navigate life on our own, but to lean on the love and grace of a faithful God. As you read through this prayer, I encourage you to reflect on your own life. Are there areas where you've allowed distractions to take priority over your relationship with God? Have you been chasing after things that don't truly satisfy? This prayer invites us to come to God with our struggles, acknowledging our need for His presence and guidance. It reminds us that no matter how far we may wander, God is always there, ready to welcome us back with open arms. The struggle with distractions. God, I come to you feeling a little overwhelmed. These words begin the prayer, setting the tone for a vulnerable and honest conversation with God. The speaker acknowledges the overwhelming nature of life and admits that they have allowed distractions to take priority over their relationship with God. This is a sentiment many of us can relate to. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's easy to become distracted by the pressures of daily life. We get caught up in work, social media, relationships, and the constant pursuit of success, often forgetting to make time for God. But the speaker is realizing something important. These distractions don't satisfy. No matter how much we chase after them, they leave us feeling empty. The pursuit of material wealth, status, or pleasure may bring temporary happiness, but it doesn't provide the lasting peace and fulfillment that only God can give. In the midst of these distractions, the speaker expresses a desire to love God more than the things that pull them away. This is a crucial step in the journey of faith, recognizing that our hearts are divided and asking God for help in realigning them. It's not easy to let go of the things that seem important to us, but the speaker's prayer reflects a deep yearning for something more, something eternal, a desire for closer connection with God. I want to love you more than the sins and distractions that keep pulling me away. This line reveals the speaker's sincere desire to draw closer to God and to love Him above all else. It's a desire that many of us share, but it's also one that requires intentional effort. Loving God with all our heart, soul, and mind is not something that happens overnight. It requires a shift in our priorities, a reordering of our desires, and a willingness to surrender our will to God's. The speaker recognizes that they cannot achieve this on their own. They need God's help to overcome the temptations that pull them away and to cultivate a deeper love for Him. This is a humbling admission, one that reminds us of our dependence on God. We cannot love God with all our heart, soul, and mind by our own strength. We need His grace, His presence, and His guidance. As the prayer continues, the speaker asks for God's strength to help them seek Him first in everything they do. This is the key to living a life that honors God, putting Him at the center of everything. When we seek God first, everything else falls into place. Our relationships, our work, our passions, everything is transformed when we prioritize God above all else. The struggle with control and worry. God, I'm coming to you knowing I can't do this life on my own. The speaker admits that they have tried to navigate life in their own strength, relying on their own plans and solutions. But they've realized that this approach doesn't work. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how much we try to control it, there are things beyond our control. This is a hard truth to accept, but it's also a liberating one. When we let go of the need to control everything and trust in God's plan, we experience a sense of peace and freedom. The speaker acknowledges that they often feel anxious and try to figure everything out on their own. This is a common struggle for many of us. We want to have everything figured out, to know exactly what's going to happen next. But the truth is, we can't see the future and we don't have all the answers. That's why we need to trust in God's plan for our lives. Even when things feel out of control, we can rest in the knowledge that God is always working things out for our good. In the midst of uncertainty, the speaker prays for the strength to let go of their worries and fears. This is a powerful reminder that God's love is greater than anything we face. When we place our trust in Him, we can surrender our fears and anxieties, knowing that He is in control. Surrendering to God's will. I know I cannot serve two masters. This line speaks to the reality of spiritual conflict. We cannot serve both God and the things of this world. We cannot walk in both light and darkness. The speaker recognizes the need to make a choice, to choose God every time, to cast off distractions and temptations that pull us away from His presence. This is where true surrender begins. It's not just about asking God for help. It's about actively choosing to follow Him, even when it means letting go of things that we hold dear. Surrendering to God's will requires courage and faith. It means trusting that God's plan for our lives is better than anything we could plan for ourselves. The speaker prays for the Holy Spirit to transform their heart and renew their mind. This is the work of sanctification, the process by which God makes us more like Christ. It's not something we can do on our own, but with the help of the Holy Spirit, we can align our thoughts, desires, and actions with God's will. The power of God's grace. Your grace is sufficient for me. This line is a powerful reminder of the sufficiency of God's grace. We all stumble and fall, but God's grace is always there to pick us up. When we feel weak, His grace empowers us to keep going. When we fail, His grace forgives us and restores us. It's not by our own strength that we walk in victory, but by God's grace. The speaker acknowledges that they need God's grace to overcome their struggles and to live a life that honors Him. This is a humbling truth. We are not capable of living a perfect life on our own, but God's grace covers our imperfections. It is through His grace that we are able to keep moving forward, even when we stumble. As the prayer concludes, the speaker expresses gratitude for God's unwavering love and faithfulness. They acknowledge that God has always been there even when they wandered, and they reaffirm their trust in Him. This is a powerful reminder that no matter how far we may stray, God is always ready to welcome us back with open arms. In the end, the prayer is a beautiful expression of surrender, trust, and gratitude. It reminds us that we are not meant to navigate life on our own, but to lean on the strength and grace of a faithful God. It challenges us to put God first in our lives, to seek Him above all else, and to trust in His plan for our future. As you reflect on this prayer, I encourage you to ask yourself, are you ready to surrender fully to God? Are you willing to trust Him with your life, your struggles, and your future? The journey of faith is not always easy, but it is always worth it. With God's help, we can overcome the distractions, temptations, and struggles that pull us away from Him. We can draw closer to Him and experience the peace, joy, and freedom that come from loving Him above all else. The key lesson from this prayer is that we are not meant to walk through life alone. We need God's help, His strength, and His grace to navigate the challenges we face. When we put God first, everything else falls into place. We experience peace, joy, and fulfillment that the world cannot offer. And even when we stumble, God's grace is there to pick us up and carry us forward. Trust in Him, surrender to His will, and know that He is always with you.